Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist, and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
New on Curiosity Stream.
I'm James Burke. I'm going to take you on a journey through time.
James Burke's visionary series returns, reimagined for our time.
Now, this is all uncharted territory.
The Washington Post hails Burke as one of the most intriguing minds in the Western world. The New York Times raves he careens from one great moment in history to another.
Where do we want to go from here?
Experience all new Connections.
So what's the next connection?
With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at curiositystream.com.
Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.
Hey guys, what's poppin'? Welcome to another episode of I've Been Thinking with Elena Grace. So today we have a really special guest. We have Athina from the Finding My Fit podcast on here with us. Say hello.
Hi everybody.
I have to tell you this before I forget again, because I was going to tell you before we started recording, but I was looking just at your Instagram last night to kind of prepare myself. I liked a ton of your pictures and stuff that I realized I hadn't liked yet, but all of a sudden I was like, I love the name Athina. I want to name a kid that. I think
Well, go ahead.
I think that's the coolest name. I love the the Greek god, Roman god names a lot though. I very much want to name a child Persephone, and my boyfriend's like, Elena. Yeah, my boyfriend's like, Elena, that's a lot. I'm like, but she was the queen of the underworld. That's really cool.
Yeah, I don't know, with my name, I feel like it's one of those names that people get wrong really easily, but at the same time, I do like that I have a bit of a unique name, so yeah. It's okay, I don't know, I go through phases of liking it and hating it. I really like your name, actually. I feel like your name is quite unique as well.
Thank you. The Elena, my dad's middle name is Alan, so, Elena's kind of the feminine of that. And it's kind of cool because my family, my ancestry is Scottish and Irish, for the most part. And Elena is also a Gaelic name. So that's really, special that it has that connection for me. And then
yeah, I love that.
the Grace has a Y in it, because my mom's maiden name is Gray, Gray. So she put her maiden name into my middle name.
Oh, I love that. That's really creative.
Yeah, I know, right? I never would have thought of that, I feel. But my family gets a little bit creative with their names. One of my cousins is named Bradley, but Lee, after my grandfather, because his name was Lee. So, they get creative with it. Anyway, I know, right? Anyway, so I would love for you to introduce yourself to the listeners. Tell us, what your podcast is about, what your journey has been, how you got here, just that kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. So as you mentioned, I do have my own podcast. I guess it's kind of like my personal brand a little bit. It's called Finding My Fit. I started my podcast it was coming up to a year ago now, actually, and yeah, from there it's kind of just grown into more than that. I very recently opened an Etsy shop to sell like digital journals and planners and stuff. So that's kind of an avenue that I'm looking to go down as well. In terms of my background, if anyone kind of looks at my Instagram or listens to my podcast, they will see that I'm very much focused on, health, fitness, self-love. I also talk a bit about eating disorder recovery because I've suffered with one myself in the past. So my kind of everything I create online is surrounded or surrounds those kind of topics. I also, aside from my podcast, I do a little bit of online writing. And I also work for the NHS part-time, which is,
Oh,
I
wow.
know you're in America, but I work part-time as a medical secretary in the NHS as well.
Wow, well, thank you. Even though I'm not in the same country as you, thank you for your hard work, for sure. And also, thank you for your hard work, I think, turning your, things that you've been through into a valuable, like a way to help other people. I always think that's really awesome when people are able to do that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I always want to create content that is valuable to other people and it's helpful. I want people to come away from my account or my podcast feeling either inspired or motivated or having learned something new.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. I really get that. It's kind of hard sometimes for that to be your goal because it makes you worry a lot about like, am I putting, good content out there, which like we should be worried about, but at the same time, it's like it makes us like second guess ourselves a lot. I feel like.
Oh, definitely. All the time, really. I think the internet is very, like, people are really opinionated, and there's always gonna be somebody who doesn't like what you've posted or what you talk about. But I think I've really just learnt to accept that I'm not gonna please everybody, and the people that I'm speaking to, as long as they, feel inspired and happy with my content, then that is really all that matters to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say that kind of confidence came from, the things that you've been through and the lessons that you've learned through that? Or do you think that maybe podcasting has contributed to that confidence?
Oh, it's a tough one because I do think it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
I used to be very much like a really shy person, especially during my eating disorder. I was really not confident at all. And I've definitely, come into myself, grown out of my shell, whatever the phrase is. I've definitely done that recently, in the past few years. And I've become a lot more happy with who I am, the way I look, that kind of thing. So I think that's really helped. But I also think that, I've had my Instagram account, not my podcast, but my other Instagram account for coming up to I think 3 or 4 years now, and I think the fact that I've been on Instagram for that long, posting consistently and really kind of trying to put my name and my opinions out there, I think that's helped over time for me to become comfortable with who I am and actually posting things online.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because, I have looked at your personal Instagram account and you post some really good stuff. Like you post things about like your fitness journey and stuff like that, but then you also post about like you had a video the other day that really stood out to me. The other day, probably as in like a few weeks ago. I don't remember when it was. But you were wearing this incredible dress and you were like, I never would have been able to feel confident wearing this during my eating disorder. I never would have been able to feel confident during my recovery. but now, like, this is why recovery is worth it. And that video stood out to me so much. It was just such a genuine, vulnerable video, but also so, valuable to people who are going through things like that, because it gives such a good perspective.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was a little bit hesitant to post that video because I don't know, I feel like it's quite personal and it was quite out there, and I feel like it's one of those videos that people outside of Instagram could probably cringe at, or just be a bit like, what are you doing? But I shoved those thoughts aside and I thought this video could help people. This video could show people that recovery is possible, that recovery brings you that confidence that you might lack during your eating disorder. So I just kind of thought, that's who I'm speaking to, so I don't care what other people think. So yeah, I just posted it.
Well, I'm glad you did, because I mean, if it was that impactful to me, I can't imagine how impactful it could be to somebody who who is going through something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of vulnerability is what makes people want to interact with you, want to follow you, because I know that there has been such a trend, for a long time in the super curated Instagram feeds, and the captions that make it seem like you don't care and you're not trying, and stuff like that. But I think that when you put the effort in, people really respond to that, and people really like feeling that they're interacting with a person, Yeah,
100%. I think it's so important to show your personal side and to show a little bit of vulnerability, because people really connect with that, and ultimately people want to see. It's nice seeing a professional curated feed on Instagram, but people like to see the kind of behind the scenes, the rough edges, the face behind the brand. They want to see reality and real things. I think we're definitely moving away from this whole perfect Instagram feed, no mistakes kind of what's the word, behavior, and I think we're moving a lot more into real life, which I really love.
Yeah, I love it too. And I think that I think that that's the kind of connection that social media was meant to foster, because it's real human connection. It's not us just looking at pictures of Barbie dolls. You know what I'm saying? It's that. Apparently, you know what I'm saying is my favorite phrase today. I just realized I've said it 17 times. But oh Lord. But yeah, I think that it's really good that we're moving into this more vulnerable actual human connection situation.
Yeah, I love it. I think that is definitely the way forward, especially when it comes to people, people's mental health and things, because when you see that perfect image of somebody who's in their best lighting, their best angles, wearing their best clothes, it can really make you compare yourself, and that's why it's nice to see that person maybe with no makeup on, or that person being really vulnerable and talking about something that they're going through that you might not have thought they were going through if they didn't bring it up on their social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that kind of brings us to, in a roundabout way, I guess, the main thing that we wanted to talk about today, which is finding balance, right? And your podcast is called Finding My Fit. So it's finding fitness for you. And I think that it's a really important topic, because so many people focus on other people's versions of fitness and health, and the image of this person or that person and how they look, and people don't realize that there are different versions of health and fitness, and that we don't all achieve it from doing the same things.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Fitness is so individual and unique to each person, whether that is fitness as in physical fitness or mental fitness, because I kind of feel like they are separate things, and what works for one person is not going to work for someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I mean, for my, mental health, I started taking medication for my anxiety, and that has been incredible. Like, that's been life-changing. But I know people who can cope with their anxiety, without medication, and that's incredible, and I'm really happy for them, and maybe one day I'll get there too. But, right now, I realize that this is what I need. And so I think it's important for people to realize, it's not all the same. There's not just one answer for everybody.
Yeah, that's so true. And I guess that is partly what sparked my podcast in a sense. It's finding my fit. I was kind of like a play on words. So I wanted to reiterate that everybody's fitness journeys and everybody's goals and that are different when it comes to like we're talking about physical fitness, and also the mental fitness and mental health kind of side of things, but also finding where you fit in the world. So what brings you joy? What are you passionate about? Where can you see yourself fitting in the world in terms of what you actually want to achieve with your life? And I think that is, in a sense, like another form of finding balance in your life, I think, as well as fitness and mental health.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that kind of take on it. I like about how it applies to all of those. That's so good. That was so clever. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So, did you start the podcast as tell me about what made you decide to start the podcast? Was it like, I want to just share my experiences? Was there something that really spurred it into action? I'd love to know what the process was.
Yeah, of course. So I've been listening to podcasts for years at this point, and I absolutely love them. They're on all the time. The moment I wake up, I literally put podcasts on, and they're on until I go to sleep. I'm literally obsessed. So I've always wanted to start my own, and originally when I thought about starting a podcast, I wanted to do like a girl talk, kind of just like a chatty, laid back one with some of my friends. But at the time I lived in London, and that was about 250 miles away from most of my friends.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much impossible for us to do a regular podcast together. So from there, I was just like, I may as well do one by myself. And at the time when I started my podcast last year, it was kind of in the middle of the lockdown. And I'd just gone through a breakup. I'd just started a new job. I'd just moved to a new flat in London. And I was feeling a little bit like, what am I doing with my life? What is going on? I'm not where I thought I would be at this age. And I just felt a little bit lost. And from there, I kind of thought, where do I actually want to fit in the world? And then that kind of sparked the idea of the podcast. And also because I love fitness and mental health and, spreading the word about them, I thought I would incorporate that into the podcast as well. So it kind of all interlinked really nicely.
Yeah, that interlinks really nicely. It's almost like it was meant to be.
Yeah, hopefully. I'd like to think so.
I think so. Yeah, I think that you share really important stuff. Can you talk just a little bit about maybe some advice that you would have for somebody who is struggling to find their balance in fitness, in mental fitness, in fitting into life? Can you give just a little bit of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, of course. I think I think the advice I'd give for each one is a bit different, because when it comes to like physical fitness and going to the gym, I think it's very easy to get, if you're that kind of person, it's very easy to get a bit obsessed with it, and you want to go every day and you really want to push yourself and you won't give yourself a day off. And I think finding balance when it comes to physical fitness is about finding what you enjoy, whether that is weightlifting, whether that's running, dancing, swimming, whatever it is. And I think setting out some kind of schedule, whether that is, the amount of workouts you're going to do or how long you're going to work out for, but scheduling rest days as well, so that you are finding that balance between working out and resting. When it comes to mental health, I mean, that is such a difficult question because it's such a broad topic, and finding balance with mental health is, even for me, like an ongoing battle all the time. But I think practicing gratitude and maybe journaling, if that is something that you enjoy, and really trying to focus on doing at least one self-care activity every day is really, I think, helpful to find that kind of balance when it comes to mental health. One of the products on my Etsy shop is like a daily journal, and I made this actually kind of just for myself originally, like I wasn't planning on selling it, but on that one page journal, I put a space for a daily affirmation and a self-care activity, and just writing them down, writing, for example, a self-care activity could be taking a long bath, or seeing my friends, or relaxing and watching some YouTube and not doing any work for a couple of hours. Whatever that activity is, I write it down, and because it's written down, I kind of it encourages me to do it more. So I think if you're struggling to find that balance with your mental health, figure out what you love to do and what self-care is to you, and make sure that you incorporate that kind of into your routine.
Okay, I love that you said that, especially about writing it down, because I have this habit of starting the day and I'm like, I'm going to take a bubble bath tonight, right? I just really deserve that. I've been telling myself for the past 7 days, I'm going to take a bubble bath tonight. And because I just things happen, whatever it is. And I'm like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. So I think that writing it down would be a really important way, or a really good way for me to make sure that I actually do that thing, right?
Yeah, I think writing things down, it kind of cements it in your head, I've written it down, so I kind of have to do it. And also it reminds me, because I keep that journal, that just one page on my desk next to my laptop, so I'm constantly looking at it and reminding myself of that activity, and until I do it, it'll stay on there, and then I can tick it off once I've done it.
Yeah, that's really good. And I love that you included a daily gratitude too, because I think it's so important to make sure that we remember think about, meditate on, whatever it is, every day, something good, because that can just be the difference in having a really good day, or maybe even just an average day, and a really bad day where you feel like nothing can go right.
Yeah, it's affirmations, I think they don't work for everybody. I do think some people will just not respond to them, and they'll just be thinking, why am I telling myself these things? But I think for most people, just reiterating one thing you love about yourself, one thing you're grateful for, it can really put you in a positive mindset, because we can sometimes just go through our days just thinking everything is negative, everything is bad, and when we get in that mindset, everything does become negative because we're in that mindset. But then saying something positive or something that you're grateful for kind of switches you over to that more positive mindset. So you're going to start finding these positive things in your day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I have, a few months ago, I wrote down my daily affirmations and I put them on the mirror in my bathroom. And it's because one of my main love languages is words of affirmation, right? I love when people tell me, hey, you did a good job. Hey, hey, I love you, whatever it is. So I was like, I need to do that for myself. I need to make sure that I hear the things that I need to hear from myself, if nobody else, right? So it's like, you are creative, you are loved, you are valuable, those kinds of things. And that has been really good for me. And I know it doesn't work for everybody, but that's been me finding the things that do work for me. I think it's a really awesome tool.
Yeah, me too. I've actually, I've also got some affirmations written on my mirror. Like, I wrote them on little sticky notes and stuck them on there. And it does remind me to read them. And I think it has definitely helped my mindset for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. And I want to go back to talking about physical fitness for a minute too. I think it is so important that you encourage people to find what works for them. So, and I kind of touched on this like way earlier in the episode, but whether it's dance or swim or weightlifting or whatever it is that makes your body happy and, makes you happy while you're doing it, that is such an important thing, because so many people get stuck on the idea that this gym split worked for this person and I want results like those, so I'm going to do exactly what they did. And that's just, that doesn't work for everybody. And a lot of the times that's not sustainable for the person who's trying to, copy that other person.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it is very easy to look at someone else's routine and their workouts and think that you need to do exactly the same thing if you want to look like them. But in reality, everybody looks different and everybody has different genetics, so they're going to respond differently, even if their training is exactly the same as someone else's. And we kind of get pushed into this mindset thinking, I have to work out every day, I have to run every day, and I have to go and lift weights just like everybody else. But in reality, there are so many different forms of exercise, and it's about finding what you enjoy the most.
Yeah, and I think it's about listening to your body as well. That's something that I tell my boyfriend that a lot, because he is just it's just his personality that he's like, okay, I get up and this is my schedule and I go to the gym every day and blah, blah, blah. And, that's what works for him and that's his personality. But for me, I get up and I'm like, my body doesn't want to go today. I'm going to stay home and stretch or, whatever it is. And he's like, Elena, you got to go to the gym. But you're trying to encourage me. But I'm like, no, Adam, you have to listen to your body.
I think it's about finding a balance with those
It
things.
is, yeah.
I used to be that person who I would force myself to go to the gym every single day. Even if I didn't really want to, if I was tired, if my muscles hurt, I would still go. And I still partly am like that, because I like to work out, 5 or 6 times a week, and I enjoy going and moving my body. And there are some days, even like this morning actually, I woke up and I was like, I'm actually really tired, and I had a bit of a headache, but I was like, I'm still going to go to the gym because I know I'm going to feel so much better once I've done my workout. So there's that side of it. But then I'm also very much like, if I really do feel ill, or if I'm busy, or if I'm really, really tired, I will just take a rest day, or I'll go easier and I'll do something lighter. So it's definitely about listening to your body. But if you do require that little bit of structure, then it is okay to have that kind of structure as well.
Oh, for sure. I love that you mentioned that, because I think a lot of people will get super caught up on, you need to listen to your body. If you don't want to go, don't go, because there is a fine line between finding structure and discipline and losing motivation.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a fine line, but there definitely is a difference between the two. I think I feel like if someone was struggling with that kind of thing, I would say make like a schedule and a plan of when you want to work out. Say if you want to work out 5 times a week, but then leave it in your head that if you really don't feel great maybe one of the days, it's okay to miss like one of the workouts. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so, like,
yeah.
You will go a certain amount of times in the week, but give or take 1 or 2 of those days.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I think I kind of do that in my head a little bit where like yesterday I didn't go to the gym and I'm like, okay, well, I've gotten 4 out of the 5 day or 5 out of the 6. I don't remember how many times I've been to the gym this week. But anyway, I'm like I've missed 1 out of my available days, and that's okay. And last week I went every single day. Next week maybe I can miss 1 day, and that's okay too. But I do that in my head. I think that maybe writing that down for some people would be really good. Kind of like we talked about earlier, how writing it down just cements it in your brain as something that's okay. Yeah, but I think that mindset is really important.
Oh, it's so, so important, because if you are in that mindset where you're like, oh my God, I need to go every day and I can't miss a workout, it becomes a chore, and you start to not enjoy working out because you're like, oh, I have to do it. Whereas when you do give yourself that leeway, or even if you feel really tired, you still go to the gym, but you do something lighter or something easier. You just go and walk on the treadmill. You're giving yourself that kind of leeway and that choice, and that makes it more enjoyable.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. It makes it less of a chore, like you said, and something that you have freedom with. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that perspective. Well, I know that you are a busy lady, so we can start wrapping up, but I want to ask you before we go, what kind of resources or books or podcasts or anything would you want to leave the listener with that have helped you?
Oh my God, there's so many that I could actually recommend. I mean, with books, I don't read books, I listen to them. So I've got Audible, and I guess I think there's 2 main books that I've listened to on there that I've really loved, and one of them is called The One Thing, or That One Thing it might be, and that's by, I think he's called Gary Keller.
Okay.
And that book is amazing, and it's really good for people who struggle to focus on like one specific thing. So say if you have loads of different interests and you want to do Instagram, you want to do YouTube, podcast, you want to grow a business, whatever it is, sometimes you can find yourself being spread a bit too thin, and this book really shows you or tells you why focusing on fewer things is more helpful and you're going to be more successful that way. So that's a really good one. And the second book that I would recommend it's called You Are a Badass, and I think it's by a woman called Jen Sincero, I think it is. I might have got that a bit wrong, but if you type You Are a Badass, it'll probably come up because it's quite like a well-known book. And she basically just talks about how to become a badass pretty much, and it's really motivational, and you do, like, when I was listening to it I was like, yeah, I am a badass and I'm ready to smash life. So I would really recommend that book. When it comes to podcasts, I think it depends what you're into, because I listen to so many different podcasts. Some of them are fitness based, some are true crime, some are entertainment. So it's really, it depends what you're into. If you're into fitness, I guess because we've spoken about fitness, I'll recommend Mind Pump. That is a really good fitness podcast. and they go through kind of, they talk a little bit about their personal lives, which I actually love because you kind of get to know them, but then they go into news topics, like up-to-date news, and then they go into a Q&A at the end where they answer a bunch of fitness questions. So I really love that one, and I would recommend anyone to go and check that out.
Really interesting. And what's your favorite true crime podcast? I have to know because I'm a true crime crazy person.
Oh, my favorite would probably be, I really love Crime Junkie.
Yeah.
Because I just love the two hosts. I think their kind of dynamic is really good.
I do
I
too.
also listen to a lot of yeah, they're actually so good. I also listen to a lot of true crime on YouTube. So there's Ellen Neal, there's Georgia Marie. They cover some really good true crime cases as well. So I would recommend YouTube for true crime. It's actually, there's so many good videos on there.
Okay, I will have to look them up on YouTube because I don't do YouTube true crime usually. So I'll definitely have to check that out since you recommended it.
Yeah, there's some really good videos on there.
Awesome. So I'm going to put, I do a blog post for every episode. So in the blog post for today's episode, I will list the books that you mentioned and also the podcast, the fitness podcast. And I'll put Crime Junkie on there too. You know, everybody needs to listen to them.
Yes, do it.
And yeah, guys, or actually, what, where can the listener find you?
Oh, of course. So I'm on a number of different platforms, so I'll try and list them off. But the kind of central place to find all of my different areas and content is my website, which is finding-my-fit.com. If people want to listen to my podcast, it's Finding My Fit. My Instagram for the podcast is Finding My Fit Podcast. And my Etsy shop is Finding My Fit Store.
Perfect. I will link all of those as well for us. So that way everybody can find you all in one place, hopefully. And guys, for us, make sure that you follow along at I've Been Thinking Pod on Instagram and I've Been Thinking Pod.com for the website, for the blog posts and everything. I apparently forgot our web address just now, so that was fun. And yeah, follow along wherever you listen. Make sure you hit follow or subscribe. Check out the Patreon for extra content. And I will talk at you all next week. Thank you again, Athena, so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun.
So much fun. All right, I love you guys. Bye.
Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.